welcome to this episode of Let's Talk About It. My name is Tatiana, and I'm here with
Jordan.
Elsa.
And I'm Stevie, and we're going to be discussing people of color, minorities in the fashion world today. So basically, I just want to start with like a few opening things. First of all, like a lot of the fashion that we see, like in the media, mainstream, a lot of it I think is kind of portrayed, is influenced by people of color and minorities, even what we consider to be high fashion, but there's still a lack of recognition and, you know, fair treatment within the industry itself. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to open that up for discussion to everyone else that I'm up here with.
I definitely agree. In my opinion, I feel like people of color are always creating and getting their ideas stolen by people in the higher ups of the fashion industry, and I feel like that's usually not a person of color. I feel like everything that is trendy is usually known to be as like ghetto or outrageous in like the first works of it.
Yeah, I would extend it also to the beauty space too. I think it's so important for people like Rihanna, Pat McGrath, and I think it's Minted Cosmetics, these brands owned by people of color. I think it's important that we see those people because that is what's going to bring out, or that's what's going to keep inspiring those who don't have the best position to fight and until they get to that position, like Rihanna and like Pat McGrath.
We also see a lot too, I think other groups mentioned it, but even as far as like gender roles go, a lot of us do kind of recognize some of, like Blake Lively was brought up a lot and some other people, but it's not necessarily uncommon. People have been doing this for, you know, decades. We have other people that have been doing it. We have Beyonce, Rihanna, I'm sure wears pantsuits, things like that. We have people that are very iconic in the fashion world, Virgil Abloh, Off-White, Louis Vuitton, all this, but it kind of seems like these people are being used in a way as like a token, where it's like you have one and it justifies all. You know, people that are still underappreciated in the fashion world, like Naomi Campbell, very famous model, but you know, in the media, we highlight people like Kendall Jenner, things like that. We have people that come out with clothing lines, Justin Bieber, people that are high fashion, Kylie Jenner, that essentially steal ideas from other cultures, try to make them new, and then this is now our mainstream fashion, when it was never necessarily mainstream.
Yeah, I want to take your topic of like using people of color as a token, because like I definitely feel the same way, because like Louis Vuitton got Dapper Dan to collab with them, and then right after that, Gucci got Dapper Dan, and then right after that Louis Vuitton got Virgil. So it was kind of like, oh, you're kind of just doing it because the next designer brand did it. I mean, I commend them for doing it, but like it should have always been this way.
We could also take it to the makeup industry and how they're now appropriating like Chola culture in the Latinx community. How I feel like the Chola community, Cholas and Cholos community are usually looked down upon, but now all of a sudden it's cool, and now everyone, well, not everyone, but they're releasing like makeup lines with like Chola styles and know Chola tagging, writing, like ColourPop I think recently
Becky
did
G.
it. Yeah.
So.
Even just like normal like people doing their makeup on a daily basis, we're seeing like cut creases, red lips, and like all this stuff that normally wouldn't be seen in like every day. Like that's
bold.
that's very, you know, sectioned off to certain groups of people. Now it's becoming mainstream. And I think we have a question out in the audience.
We do have a couple audience questions. Your name, sir?
Luca,
All right, and your question.
how do you feel like, even though maybe not as visible as it should be, how do you feel like the increased visibility of people of color has impacted their communities on an individual basis?
I feel like it impacts it a lot, because like now younger people can see that they can have a chance, because usually, you know, you don't see like Latinas or like African Americans or like any of that, and like now there's more on the runway, there's more people being in designing.
Even just with like small victories too, like we have like this whole like natural hair movement and things like that. I think people part of those certain groups, they're now seeing it, and like whereas before that was never considered high fashion or even acceptable to be outside of their own communities. I think that's like a big thing, like people being able to rock dreadlocks on a red carpet. Like before that was never even a question or like okay. So I think in that sense, like for people of those groups, that's like a good forward. But outside of those groups, like I think it's kind of just like people now see it, they think it's cool, and now it's high fashion.
And another audience question as well. Go ahead, sir.
What's up, y'all? I'm Felix. So the question I have for y'all is, where do y'all feel that we're at as far as fashion representation with the transgender community? I think in 2017, Victoria's Secret hired their first transgender model, but that seemed long overdue, and it's only one. So where do y'all feel like we're at?
I think fashion, first of all, is one thing that shouldn't, like, I don't know, gender shouldn't have.
Shouldn't be any boundaries.
It shouldn't. Yeah, fashion
Yeah.
is like an art form. Honestly, it's a
Right.
way of expressing yourself. So I think it should have been inclusive from the jump. Like we have people, even in the 70s, guys used to dress feminine, and then
Right.
they weren't feminine at all. But it's like when you're exposing your fashion sense, it's an art form. It shouldn't really have anything to do with your gender. Yes, I think it's great that now people are being able to incorporate transgender people, males and females, kind of like cross-dressing, bringing different ideas from one thing. But I just think it's kind of like it should have never been a barrier in the first place.
Yeah, and also
Like-
I think for us as consumers, it's important to watch where we're spending our money.
Yeah,
and pay attention
exactly.
to that. So.
All right. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of Let's Talk About It.
Thank you.
Yay.